What's up guys, Kyle here again, and today it's time to review some of your guys' comments. Hope that everybody is having a great day out there today. Before we jump into the viewers' comments, and I'm feeling kind of froggy today. I feel like trying to roast somebody and actually roast them this time, since my last roast at the end of episode number 1 was terrible. I dropped my phone already. But anyways, a couple things that I want to mention right off the bat before we jump into those comments. Number 1, as I mentioned in last week's Fat Friday episode, I am pushing like crazy to hit 8,000 subscribers by the end of the year. In my last episode, I said 10,000, but I was high or something. I don't know exactly why I said 10,000. I think that my brain just wasn't working right. That wouldn't be a surprise because that's normally what's going on with me anyways. So yes, I mentioned that I am trying my heart out in order to get to 8,000 subscribers by the end of the year. As of the filming of this video, I have about 7,170 subscribers, so we are not far off, guys. In a normal month, I probably get 650 to 750 subscribers. So that means for the rest of December, we need to get another 830 subscribers. I think we can do it. I appreciate you guys' support so much. As soon as I mentioned that last week, there were a ton of people who hit that subscribe button on that particular video, as I do view the analytics as well as all the comments and all that stuff. So let's keep that trend going, guys. Help me get to 8,000 by the end of December. I will love you guys forever, and it would mean a lot for me for you guys to help me reach that goal. Item number 2, my band, Bushido Code, is going on tour for about 10 days on the East Coast and into the Midwest, starting a week from yesterday. So we are gonna be hitting Buffalo, Brooklyn, Albany, Reading, PA for the Keystone Jam, where I get to play with a bunch of legendary hardcore bands that I love, including All Out War and Buried Alive. We're also going to be going out into the Midwest, hitting up Chicago, Indiana, Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh. So I will put the dates to those shows up here on the screen, and if you guys are anywhere near any of those places, please feel free to come out. Not only check the band out, but I'd love to meet you guys in person and hang out with you guys, talk gear in person as opposed to talking to a camera. That was definitely one of my hopes in building this channel in the first place, is to be able to build a community that when we do go out on the road, I can meet you guys in person and we can kind of chat about all the stuff that we're talking about down in the comments, that we're talking about in my Facebook group and Discord server. So if you guys are anywhere near any of these shows coming up, I would really be psyched to see you guys come out, check out the band, hang out with us, and talk gear. The very last item is Derrick, my guitarist in Bushido Code, is auctioning off his custom painted Gibson Les Paul Standard. I forget exactly what year it is, but he put up an image for it. I'll put that image up on the screen here. But he had a beat up Les Paul Standard for a while, and he actually got it custom refinished by a professional refinisher, and he had the Bushido logo put on the back. It's not the actual Bushido Code logo symbol, but you know what I mean. So anyways, he had that painted under the clear on the back of it. Really cool guitar, and he's auctioning it off for 25 bucks a ticket in order to help raise some money, because he's going to be missing out on a lot of work as we go on tour, as he is a tattoo artist. So anything that you guys can do on that front, if you want to purchase a raffle ticket, I'll put the information down in the description of the video for you guys to be able to check that out and get a piece of Bushido Code history, because I believe that he recorded the first 2 EPs with that guitar. So kind of cool if you're into the band at all. If you're not, I'm a loser and I'll shut up. Okay, with all of that unashamed self-promotion out of the way, let's jump into your guys' comments. First comment comes from PupStop1, and he says, "Nice demo, but I would have liked to hear the insane amounts of gain you spoke of. Usable or not, I'd like to hear what it sounds like with the gain on 8 to 9 on both channels, just to have a reference. Great video, thanks." Thank you for the comment, man, and yeah, you're right. I do have a bad habit of not really pushing the gain on the amps as hard as it can go. I've tried to work that in a little bit more on some recent videos, but I do tend to stick to areas of where the amp is actually usable. But moving forward, I really do need to start kind of pushing the settings a little bit more, spending less time on one setting that I think sounds good, and kind of varying the settings a little bit more to give you guys some more variations of how the amp can sound, instead of just dialing it in how I think it sounds good in the room. So that is a great comment, and I appreciate the feedback there. That comment was left on my Bugera 6260 video that I just posted yesterday. So if you guys haven't checked that out yet, go over and check that out. But I mentioned that that amp has a ton of gain, but I never really pushed the gain knob into an area that would make it, you know, ridiculously saturated in order to show you guys how much gain it actually had on tap. I just kind of mentioned that I ran the gain so low because there was so much on tap. So in the future, I will try to push the settings a little bit more for you guys and not just dial it in to where I think it sounds good, but to kind of show you the range of the controls. I need to do a better job of that, so I appreciate the comment there on that topic. Robert Holt asks, is $750 a good price for a Peavey VTM 60? You know, right now, I'm still inclined to say no, that is too much, even though the gear market has been like ridiculously inflated over the past year and a half. As I and many others have mentioned recently, the gear prices are just insane right now. They seem like they're kind of starting to at least level off instead of continuing to skyrocket. But overall, gear prices are just up on the used market across the board by a lot. So for a Peavey VTM 60, the max that I would probably pay if I really, really wanted one and it was super clean and had new tubes and no scratchy pots, was nice and quiet, I'd probably pay 600 bucks. And that's a lot for me because I typically buy these amps around the $300 mark. The last one I got, I bought for 200 bucks, and it's actually the one that I still have. It's a VTM 60. And I bought it knowing that it had an issue. It had a really bad buzz coming through the speakers to where the amp was basically unplayable. I bought it knowing that. The seller knew that as well, and that's why they priced it at 200 bucks. So I ended up giving it to Mike Wagner of Wagner Amp Repair here in Erie. He put brand new caps in it, and I believe that there was one other small issue wrong with it, and I think I stuck 100 bucks into it, and then I put a brand new pair of power tubes in it. So I think overall I put like $140 into it, so $340 for a VTM that's actually really clean, and now it's the best sounding VTM I've ever heard. And he agreed. He's worked on a few of them for me, and he's like, that's the one. Don't sell that one. But anyways, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here about VTMs, which are amps that I love. But yeah, gear prices are high, but that doesn't mean that you should overpay. So the thing about gear prices being high right now is people are buying those pieces of gear at these inflated prices. So therefore, all you're doing is reinforcing those high market prices, because if you're willing to spend that much, there are going to be sellers, and I am guilty of this by all means because I do believe in free market tactics where supply and demand is a thing. And if I see that people are buying an amp like a Peavey 5150 for 1,200 bucks, I'm gonna sell it for $1,200 because I'm not an idiot. A lot of people will post on other people's for sale posts on Facebook especially, and they turn into the price police and they'll say, 5150, that's a $500 amp. No, it's not, man. And I'll tell you 100%, I know that it's not, because I've sold multiple of them in the past year for over $1,000, and they go like that. They sell super quick, and that is just, there is no stronger indicator of what an amp's price is worth, or a piece of gear is worth, I'm sorry, than how quickly it sells at a high price. So if it sells quickly at a high price, then that is a sought after piece of gear that people are willing to pay money for. Now, is the VTM inflated in the same way? Yeah, the prices are up, but traditionally I've been able to sell them for between $500 and $600 over the past like 3 years, depending on how clean they were. If they have the original USA Peavey Super 6, which are, I believe, Philips 6L6 GC power tubes, or Sylvania. I believe they're the Sylvania ones. That bumps the price up even higher. So it all depends, but yeah, man, I would hold out for a better deal unless it is a super clean VTM with the original USA tubes in it, and there's nothing wrong with it. That is like the absolute top dollar that anybody should pay for a VTM, even in this current climate. If you guys want gear prices to come down, stop paying high prices for used gear, and eventually they will drop because sellers will be forced to lower the price in order for those items to sell. Like I said, it's simple supply, demand, market tactics. You guys keep buying high, sellers will keep selling high. Mike Skis commented on my new 6505 1992 original video and said, Peavey needs to sell cabs with V30s instead of Sheffields, hands down. The reputation of the OG 5150 has a hell of a following, and they need to bring that back. I know some people say it's just the same as every setup with the V30. The point is, it's a desired sound by a lot of people, tried and true to the formula, and would tie the package all together. Let's be real, the target demographic would be people who play metal. Thanks for your comment, Mike, and I was really hoping that you were Mike Ski from Brothers Keeper at first, but that's not the case, so I'm a little disappointed, but I'm gonna suffer through and push through this comment anyways. So yeah, I have to agree. I really do have to agree. And for a couple of reasons. Number one, Peavey makes solid cabs. Their cabs, the birch plywood, the way that they're constructed, they're built well. There is nothing wrong with the construction of Peavey cabs. But over the years, they have gotten such a bad rep because the Sheffield speakers are really polarizing, And it really seems like, although Peavey's tube amps have kind of been redeemed in the last like 15 years or so, to where they always had a bad reputation other than like the 5150, and all of a sudden people started realizing how good they were, especially for the prices that they sell for on the used market. That didn't really happen to their cabs. And I really think that these Sheffield speakers have everything to do with that. Now, I'm not saying that they're bad speakers. And I have spoken at length with John Fields, and he has kind of told me a lot about the design process of a lot of the speakers, and he agrees that some of those speakers, like the 1290, I believe, are not so good. But there are some older models of the Sheffields that are actually pretty decent. The 1230 is a decent speaker. I actually really like that speaker quite a bit. I have one in my Peavey Ultra 60 combo, and then I also had some of them in the Bandit cab and Bandit combo that I had, and I thought that they were a nicely balanced speaker. They were nice and mid-forward without having that harsh spike that tends to accompany the V30, so that was a really good speaker. The Sheffield Triple X speaker was also one that I think is highly underrated. I think that is a great speaker, very V30-like. It's almost like a stiffer, tighter V30. Now, if you have the wrong amp paired with it, I actually don't think that it pairs all that well with the Triple X itself, because the Triple X is a little bit more narrow and it tends to be a little bit on the brighter side. But that speaker in that cab actually pair well with something like a dual rectifier and even the original 5150, where the low end frequencies are just kind of like real big in comparison. That Triple X 100 watt speaker is modeled after a V30. I got that from John Fields. He told me straight up it's a V30 type of clone, but with a higher power handling and a little bit less of a mid spike. And that is one of the few speakers where people compare them to V30s, and I actually see the resemblance, and that's a great speaker. So very underrated speaker. The Sheffield 1200 is a good speaker that came in the Peavey 5150 cabs, but overall, I can't say I love it. It's pretty dark. It's very fizzy on the top. I do think that it pairs well with the Vintage 30, and I actually have a cab where I have two of the Sheffield 1200s, two Vintage 30s, and that's a really good sounding cab. The Sheffield definitely darkens the V30 up a little bit. They balance each other out. The Sheffield is supposed to be like a higher power greenback, and it really does have somewhat of a similar tone, but the mid content just blends so nicely with the V30 because the Sheffield 1200 isn't a scooped speaker. It's got mids focused in a different area, but when you combine the upper mids of the V30 with the more round and lower mids of the Sheffield 1200, it makes for a really good combination, and I think it sounds really mean. That's actually one of my favorite speaker pairings that's not standard Celestion stuff. So, but as far as a lot of their other speakers, I recently got a JSX cab. Not a huge fan of those speakers. They kind of sound like nasalier greenbacks, and they seem like they break up real quick. I wasn't a fan of those. The Sheffield 1290, maybe my least favorite speaker ever. That was supposed to be kind of like a Celestion T75 clone, or not necessarily a clone, but it was supposed to be designed with that speaker's tonalities in mind, and I get it. I do, but I don't really like the T75 either. So a speaker that's modeled after the T75 that doesn't fix the issues that I don't like about the T75, I'm gonna tend to not like that one either. So put that in a front-loaded cab with a metal grille, and you've got yourself a very bright and spiky speaker. And those came in the metal front 412 MS cabs, which again, great built front-loaded cabs. I have a pair of them, but man, they just do not sound very good. So back to the subject of vintage 30s coming in Peavey cabs. Peavey has been putting V30s and greenbacks in their cabs recently. I don't know if you know this, but yeah, for a while, Peavey in their 112, 212, and 412 cabs have been providing vintage 30s and greenback speakers in a lot of those cabinets. So at this point, I think that they're like $900 new, versus $1,200 to $1,300 for Marshall, Bogner, Friedman, stuff like that. So if you want to save a few $100 and get a cab with quality speakers, they're going to be the same speakers that are put in Bogner and Friedman cabs, and you want to save $300 to $400 on a 412, I can tell you I have one of the newer Peavey 412s with vintage 30s in it. It sounds great. It's a great sounding cab. It's well built, but I really think that that is the reason why Peavey's cabs don't have a better reputation, is because people don't really dig these Sheffield speakers. So Robert Pierce commented on my Friedman BE OD Deluxe video and said, I ran my original BE pedal into the low output on my 78 JMP 2204, stacked it with an SD1. Awesome gain tone, probably would sound even better with V30s. I'm running it through a 1968 cab with G12 T75s. Thanks for the comment, Robert. I gotta say, when I had the original BE Overdrive pedal, my favorite amp to run it into was the low input of a Peavey Butcher, which Peavey Butcher, if you guys are unfamiliar with it, the 80s one, was kind of Peavey's take on the JCM 800. And I had that amp for a long time before I could actually score myself a good working 2203 or 2204. And while the Butcher does sound similar to the JCM 800, it definitely has those Peavey characteristics we've all come to either know and love or know and hate in some cases, like Big Mike, you know, one of the viewers of my channel, hates Peavey stuff. Jesse, the drummer from Buried Alive, hates Peavey stuff. That's okay. We're all entitled to our own opinions, regardless of how wrong they are. No, I'm just kidding. Seriously though, the Butcher's a great amp if you're looking for that classic 2203, 2204 tone, but with kind of the Peavey upper mid tonality where it's a little bit rounded out, a little bit more wah-ish in the upper mids as opposed to the upper mid spike. When I was running it into the low input of that amp, that was actually my favorite use case for it. I think that the BEOD sounded great into the low input of that style of circuit. And if I still had the BEOD Deluxe, I actually got rid of it already. If I still had it, I think that that's how I would run it. I would probably run it into the low input of my 2203, my 1978 2203, because running it into the input of that Marshall style circuit, that preamp circuit, is really brought out some of the mids that the pedal is inherently missing. Now, Friedman stuff, I have said this before on my channel, Friedman stuff is amazing. It's 3D, it's dynamic, it's just got this awesome harmonic content to it. I do not dislike Friedman stuff in the least, but for me personally, it's lacking the upper mid aggression that a classic Marshall would have, and that's kind of what kind of pushes me in the direction of the Splon stuff as opposed to the Friedman stuff, is the Splon still kind of keeps that classic upper mid aggression that the older Marshalls have. So, but yeah, running the BEOD into a circuit like that, when you run it in a low input, you're not gonna be getting the preamp gain out of the amp, so it's not like you're stacking a distortion pedal, which is essentially what the BEOD is, on top of the distortion from the amp and kind of creating a buzzy mess. You're kind of running it into the cleaner version of that preamp by going into the low input, where I believe it's like one less cascaded gain stage, 1 or 2, I don't know. To be honest, I'm not sure, and I probably shouldn't even be saying that because I'm not sure if it's true. But anyways, it's a lot lower gain, and pedals seem to work a lot better into that input, and that BEOD really shined through the low input of the Butcher. So I can see in your situation, Robert, the BEOD working great in the low input of a 2203. Whether you would like it more with V30s or not, I don't know. Because Marshall circuits are really the only amps that I like through T75s. I don't really like any other amps with T75s, but that speaker does tend to sit well with the Marshall style circuits because the Marshalls have so much of that crazy grindy upper mid range, and the T75 seems to level that out a little bit and add a little bit of top end sizzle too. Not that the Marshalls really need that, but when you kind of dial those mids up and dial the highs back, you can remove some of that, and the T75 will kind of keep it in place. And the T75 also has a bigger low end than the V30, so complements the Marshall circuits in that way because most of them don't have a lot of low end. So your mileage may vary. I think you're probably good to go with the T75s, but it never hurts to have both on hand and experiment, because that's what I would do. And that's why I currently don't have any room in my garage or basement. Jorge A says, pedal into clean channel type of demos are useless for me. If you want to convince me that a US $200 plus pedal is good, it has to sound good directly into a power amp. That again was a comment on my BEOD pedal that just came out this week. If you didn't see that video, go ahead over and check it out. Here's the thing, man. I'm not trying to convince anybody that anything sounds good. I'm just giving you my personal opinion of what I'm hearing here in the room. I have no obligation to Friedman or any of these other companies. Even if they send me stuff, I have no obligation to tell you or convince you that something sounds good. I'm just here giving you my honest opinion of whatever it is that I'm hearing, and if I like things, I will tell you that I like things. If I don't like things, or if I feel like a product is lacking somewhere, I will absolutely tell you that. And you can go back and watch a bunch of my other videos, and a lot of people have commented and said, thank you for being honest, because you do, in a diplomatic way, say what you don't like about products. Even if I like them overall, if I feel like it does have a shortcoming here or there, I will throw it out there and I will tell you what it is that I think could be improved upon. My whole aim with this channel is to be very honest, very forward, and very upfront with you guys. I don't ever want you guys to get the opinion that I'm trying to sell you a product when it comes from another company. Now, if I start doing my own IRs and Kemper profiles, of course I'm gonna try to sell you my product, or else I would be a terrible businessman. But in reality, when I'm demoing a product for another company, I tell them up front, like, I have no obligation to make your product sound good, I'm gonna be honest about it. And to be completely honest, a couple of the companies that have reached out to me said, that's why we want you to check our stuff out, is because people know that they're gonna get a fully honest opinion by going through you and not just an advertisement. So I take that as a badge of honor. I really appreciate that companies are willing to send me stuff knowing that I will be honest. I'm not gonna be Glenn Fricker where I shit all over your product. You know, he has his fearless gear review thing and that works great for him. That fits his personality well. I don't want to be, and I find it entertaining, honestly. I watch those videos, I watch Glenn's videos all the time. But I wanna try to be a little bit more diplomatic about things just because that's who I am as a person. I try to look at the pros and cons of everything. Even if I really don't like something, I try to find the positive in it. And I also try to look outside of myself and realize that there are a lot more people who are going to have a lot different use cases than just myself and the way that I demo things. So I always try to keep that in mind when I'm explaining things to you, and I try to make it clear that I'm giving you my opinion on things and not what I think is the end all be all on that particular piece of gear. So anyways, with all that being said, a distortion pedal into a clean channel amp is not a good way to showcase a distortion pedal. You want it to go directly into a power amp. Well, not every pedal is built to go into a power amp, man. That might be, again, that might be your use case scenario, but that's not gonna be everybody's use case scenario. And a lot of people who are buying pedals like that are sticking them in front of like clean Fender combo amps and taking them out to gigs and stuff. I realize that's not a lot of my viewers, but a lot of people are putting these drive pedals on pedal boards and running them into the clean section of an amp that is easily portable in order for them to have a versatile pedal board and a bunch of different sounds that they can take to a local gig or something like that. Not a lot of people are taking a pedal and running it into like a 100-watt tube power amp, because that kind of defeats the purpose of having the pedal unless you're just trying to get multiple flavors for your own home use or recording situations or something like that. I would say that that's probably less common than running it through the clean channel. But at the end of that video, I did run it through a tube power amp simulation with an IR so that I could show you guys how it would sound if you were to run it directly into a power amp or run it directly into your DAW. So I feel like I tried to kind of kill two birds with one stone with that power amp simulation and IR demo at the end, showing you how it would sound through a clean power amp as well as directly into a DAW for recording purposes. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. I don't agree with it, and that's fine. We don't have to agree on these things. But if I'm wrong, you guys let me know down in the comments. If you think that Jorge or George is right and I should be doing distortion pedals, not preamp pedals, distortion pedals through tube power amps only, let me know in the comments, because I'm here to serve you guys essentially. So whatever's gonna be most common, I need to know that in order to help you guys out better. I'm just giving you my opinion here again, but it's your guys' feedback that I count on to make the most useful demos that I can make here on this channel. Wow, I talked a lot. All right, I'm gonna call it right there. I would have liked to have gotten into some goofier comments, but you know what? I like the helpful stuff more. I hope that you guys do too. I hope that you found this video helpful and you enjoyed it. If you did, like I said, help me get to 8,000. Hit that like button on the way out. Subscribe to the channel before you get out of here. I don't know why you haven't subscribed yet. Like 60-some% of my viewers aren't subscribed. Hit that button, man. It takes nothing. It helps me out. It makes me look legit, even though I'm not. I gotta fake it till I make it, and I need your help to do that. Also, if you wanna support the channel, down in the description of this video are my Sweetwater affiliate links, my Patreon membership page, my Discord server, and my Facebook groups. Consider going down there, checking those links out. Anything that you click on and join up with down there helps me immensely. Sweetwater costs you absolutely nothing. If you buy something from Sweetwater, I get a little commission after you click on that link. It helps me out greatly. Thank you guys for all the support. I appreciate you all. Kyle here again. What's something? Oh my God, my brain just melted right in front of the camera. Bye. What's up, guys? Kyle here again, and today we're gonna review some viewers' comments because you, the viewer, have left a lot of very interesting comments.